Alright, well. You're right about one thing. Oh. Susato is 16. Interesting. Alright, let's examine all the things we can. Victims 54 died between 10 and 11 p.m. Stabbed in the abdomen. And that's it. Photograph. Yeah, that looks like him, alright. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Ah, pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. Yeah, maybe. But if only he didn't touch the victim. Oh! Alright, let's examine the omnibus. Well, let us open the door and go inside, shall we? Ah, the scene of a murder. It's horrible. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passages like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark. And there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Self-defense? Or something else, maybe? Maybe the brickmaker tripped on his knife. Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. Oh, the Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. Okay, yeah. Poster. Sure. What else do we have here? Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. That's a great... Okay. This seat has a handle, it seems. Oh. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it is a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. No, I suppose not. Is that it? I guess that's it. No handle on this side. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description. So I suppose it can't be opened from the inside the cabin, at least. So I suppose it can't be opened from the... So I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin, at least. There we go. Getting there. It's a work in progress. Have you seen enough? Let us step back outside then. Yep. Alright, I guess our Phoenix Wright Omnibus. That's a strange name for an omnibus. Huh. Okay, well, let's go upstairs. So, this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them? And they have to pay money to do so? Brr, I cannot imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around by the city? Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there is a lamp in the enclosed cabin, so I am sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. It's not good for us. Not good at all, okay. So is that it? I guess that's it. That's all we can find out. For now, at least.
It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers.
Oh, that's the driver.
I remember it well.
Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. That's right, sir. Yes, ever so cold it was. Freezing, in fact.
Uh-huh. Okay. Go on. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though. No.
And there were no other passengers when the incident took place? No one alighted, for example?
You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No. None.
So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then?
I have to say, the boss insists on running it. He does. Every evening. That last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes. Sorry to say.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spent that much at the pub on the way home just trying to warm up again. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus.
And you saw them through the skylight into the roof of the carriage?
That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on the inside, so I had a pretty good view. The 2 of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded.
How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? Mr. McGilded is a gentleman of a rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let us not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt here. Oh, I really wish there was. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. You actually saw the exact moment it happened? It didn't tire to testify to that. Our fair dinkum, hard-working city banker is not considered trustworthy these days. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail. What voice did I give him? My lord. No. Yes. My lord. My lord?
Juror number 3, what is the meaning of this?
My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter, anyway. Whoa.
That's precisely what I was about to say. As a foreman of his jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors.
What the hell's going on here? What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes. It seems that that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Oh, now I'm even more worried than I was before.
Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination.
Oh, this is a nightmare. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gents sitting next to the fella that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. He was sitting right from his belly, that huge great knife.
A grim sight indeed.
But that didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious than that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth.
If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First,
Oh, yes, sir.
Is this the knife you saw?
Oh, good grief. Yes, that's it. The very one, sir. Is that?
Yes, Counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart.
That is a blade of considerable size, Counsel.
It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar.
Oh, please, no.
M for Magnus, perhaps, or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London has made a magnificent mistake.
Objection.
Oh, but there are M's everywhere. Like, yes, like in Mason.
Objection.
This blade is far too extravagant for... This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, 9. This weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused.
Oh.
Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, Counsel.
Marot, if you'll forgive the interruption.
Juror number 2, go on.
Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and gentleman. And a gentleman's words should be sacrosanct. Sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. Dispose of the rubbish. No. I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime.
I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today, and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion.
Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who have proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We are still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We must not give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again.
As soon as I heard the scream, I was out my bus. And I saw it then, too.
What exactly did you see?
Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes. Collapsed on the floor, he was. And by the passenger, obviously you're referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker? And then the other passenger had the knife in his hand, like this.
By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused Mr. Magnus McGilded.
And then he plunged down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly.
What? Even the driver saw it.
Hey, my lord, I wish to speak.
Yes, juror number 5. Do I take it that you two...
Is a master of the London Guild of Coachmen. The idea of murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse is bolted, as they say.
No, please, just keep an open mind, senor.
Gee up now, Silverblaze. The finish is in sight.
Oh, good.
Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir.
Oh, this is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6.
Yes, dear. What can I do for you?
You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand.
Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know.
Then, pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning?
Well, dear, the thing is, I am a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day, and sit on a nice bench and get out with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He is always doing wonderful things for the city.
That's right, a man like that wish to have someone, surely.
Mother, maybe go to the McGilded Park Library and borrow some books.
How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is?
What kind of man is he?
The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your kind is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls.
What? Stone the crows.
McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak.
I've never heard any mention of that before.
Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of the public omnibus service?
You're not saying that...
The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts.
Good gracious!
The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him. His life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Mr. Sato, you claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. But where is the evidence to support your claim? Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law.
Aha! There it is! Lord Van Zeek's hallowed chalice.
How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in inexpectably good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. As Judicial Assistant to Defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time.
A marvelous toast, Counsel. I would gladly accept this new evidence.
Sure, why not?
Ah yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum.
And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused.
It is such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Still, maybe it's all for the best.
Wait a minute, let's think about this a little more before...
I don't stand for nonsense.
Oh, that was it. The last juror's decision. According to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the proceeding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That is what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh. There is a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense...
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case.
Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial. By delivering my final verdict, I trust there are no objections. Oh, Mr. Sato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the proceeding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. A summation examination?
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It is a relic, long forgotten, certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Mr. Sato? The so-called summation examination? Oh, well, a moment and I'll read about it. You would demand the right to procedure before you would even understand what it entails? Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality, with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I do not see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that although it might be antiquated and largely forgotten, it is not yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Summation examination. Our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out, or admit defeat? Nah, forget it. Mr. Naruhodo, are you sure that's the right decision? You heard what the judge and the prosecutor said. It's an antiquated procedure. It's history. We barely know our way around the law that's in use today. What hope will we gain of pulling it off? Perhaps what we don't know can work to our advantage. Sorry? In any case, there's really only one course of action available to us here. What we cannot afford to do is allow this trial to end. What we don't know can work to our advantage. You're right, Mr. Sato. Let's bring this antiquated procedure back into the present day. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are embarrassments that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Hey! Well, I'm not, there's no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so... All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention of this was made before. I don't really hold with all this justifying luck. That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years. Is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for to turn this trial around. So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime.
There was no one else who saw the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers, with fares totaling 20 pence.
He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen.
I have simply tapped and correlated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion.
You could judge the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4pence for years.
The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them and use very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was gonna have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they are unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they have reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it would recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear. I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see, so it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I am expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Oh. Time for my rebuttal. Okay. So she said that I can't say anything to convince them. I just have to find contradictions, alright? So there's no one else at the carriage inside the carriage at the time, and it has to be in him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory. 20 pence. Were they 20 pence? I don't think it says what the price is. Okay. So that's a dead end. Suck the chap next to him just like this. Typed and colored all same as with as far as the guild. Oh! Wait a minute. Yeah. She's saying 20 pence, he's saying 4 pence. One of you is lying.
Objection.
Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said?
I swear, Silver Brace's maiden name. I haven't the first idea what you're talking about.
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Oh, that's a combined fare. I still was right, though. Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
That is it. A fair and convenient single price. That's the way London's carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts.
Why, man? Why?
4 passengers paying 4 pence each? If you do the multiplication... It would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious!
This can't be right. The coachmen at Guild are good, honest men. One and all, trustworthiness is our watchword.
The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus?
Alright then. How to make it so this miserable trial doesn't end?
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side of the set of scales.
No. Hey, hold on your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. What do you have to go in? Wait until I get my hands on you, Pepper.
Yes.
Oh, this is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same.
Well, for our Mike, not you as well.
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exact standards in financial matters.
Oh, really?
For one, I think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force this trial to continue. 2 more? Actually, I only need to change 1 more. Or I guess I do need to change 2, never mind. There is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that is where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertion. Exactly. You can do it. Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. Okay, she's changing her mind.
Hey, there's no one else who saw the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
Oh. Now we've proven that someone else could have been there, right? Or maybe not. Okay. Can I... No. He's saying that he stuck the person next to him. She's saying that he stabbed the man on the floor. Does that work? Is there a logic behind that?
Objection.
Sure. Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain yourself, counsel. Post haste.
Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What is all crap, Chip? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you?
We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3.
Why? Can't you see I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Want to test me, there? It was like this. Stopped the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the prime banker said.
Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
No, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He sucked the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he had collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches. What a muddle. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh. But why? Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience?
Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies.
These girls.
I don't believe it.
Wait. Now here is, my fellow jurors, I warn you. You cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all.
If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through this?
Answer me this, Doc Jenks.
Hey? Me?
What exactly is the problem? What of it if 2 witnesses have slightly different recollections of events?
What of it?
Let's say the Sherlock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. This young daddy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and then the Sherlock stabbed him again. This old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say to a name like that, then?
Oh, you're counting a dandy, sir. Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you.
Oh, they're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the 2 witnesses see 2 different moments of the same crime? Nope. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman...
Hey, what is it, Doc Jinx? Come on, out with it.
What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question.
What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realise that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof.
Looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish.
Hey?
I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments of the crime, as proven by...
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once.
Hey, only once?
It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed only once. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times. Alright, I concede defeat. Thank you. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty?
We have done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We have won!
Have we? What are you playing now, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me.
But we had a consensus.
I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and say the last hair of this head. Please tell me he's a barber.
Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to agitate, and the trial must continue.
That's all I wanted to hear.
I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Seeks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hollow chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zeeks!
Is it gold in here, or is it just me?
As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honor the deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Wow. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure.
Oh, yes, sir. That I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir. I heard it.
You, sir, on the end, the coachman. I believe it is Beppo?
Yes, sir, my lord. Sir?
If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of a 5th passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir.
Oh, mio Dio.
Hey, it's Mio's deal, idiot.
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination.
Alright, round 2. I only carried 4 passengers that night. I swear. Well, I, for one, was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. He fitted us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so. Yes.
Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom 5th passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage.
Oh! People, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster.
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare?
Yeah, it's so cold. And the last run of the day is always half empty.
You have been dishonest, coachman.
I'm sorry.
You're a disgrace, people. A disgrace. Your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild.
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please.
We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Yes.